Some of you are probably under the impression that anime and D&D mix about as well as Gal Gadot in acting.
Kalal, no!
After all, Crickrap has made a career highlighting people ruining tables by playing their own Ebony Darkness Dimension Raven way, typically inspired by whichever edgy anime boy is popular at the time. So why do I think the opposite? Well, stay with me here. Normally, a DM advice video would be me giving a short series of tips and tricks I think might be applicable to your table, and I'm gonna do a little bit of that, but if there's one thing I want you to take from this video, it's that piracy is badass. As Picasso probably sort of said, good artists borrow, great artists steal. Consider this video my case for why your D&D campaign should be stealing from anime, and I think the best way to communicate that is to simply lead by example. So have a seat, grab a snack, and let me tell you how I got my players to call me the greatest DM they had ever had by basically ripping off the tuning exams from Naruto. So first off, I should probably explain what D&D and the tuning exams actually are. D&D stands for Dungeons & Dragons, and it's the most popular tabletop role-playing game on the market. You know, Critical Role, or that game of pretend they play in Stranger Things? Yeah, it's that. A Dungeon Master is someone who narrates, oversees, and oftentimes writes the story for the game that the rest of the players, often called the party, plays. Also, although I'm going to be using Dungeons & Dragons as a point of reference, everything in this video is applicable regardless of which system you're running, from Cyberpunk to Vampire the Masquerade. The homebrew world for my D&D game was taken straight from shows like Goblin Slayer and Overlord. Occasionally, people are born with unique talents and magical abilities. Designated as adventurers, they are tasked by the Adventurers Guild with completing quests and slaying monsters. And once a year, an event is held for new members called the Adventurers Tourney. Mirroring the tournament format of Naruto's Chunin exams, the competition consists of 3 stages. Just like in Naruto, it was important that the tournament be early into the campaign, but not the first thing the players did. The first story arc in Naruto is the Land of Waves. Without going too much into it, the arc serves to establish a baseline for what ninja society in the world of Naruto is like. We get a sense of how missions work, the politics between ninja villages, a sense of power scaling, and perhaps most importantly, each member of Team 7, that's Sakura, Sasuke, and Naruto, have both a personal and shared internal goal. We've all heard DM advice like, tie in your player's personal goals. For example, if your player's family was murdered by bandits when they were young, those bandits should probably show back up at some point. This is Storyteller 101, but what's not talked about as much is establishing a shared internal goal for a cast of characters. The shared external goal of Naruto's Team 7 is to pass the Chunin exams, but their shared internal goal is to discover their own ninja way. During the Land of Waves arc, they each witness just how nasty, brutish, and short life in the ninja world actually is, and as a result of it, swear to find their own ninja way, refusing to accept and perpetuate the cycles of use and be used they witnessed during their first mission. I stole this. The first few quests my players went on were very intentionally displaying the absolute worst adventuring had to offer, and as a result, my players trauma bonded, but also had all come to the conclusion that there had to be more to adventuring than death and misery. And, just maybe, this tournament would be their opportunity to discover what being an adventurer meant to them. So, you should probably meet the party. First up is Aura. Half human, half genie, all rich kid. Growing up in a life of luxury and coming from a long line of adventurers, much has always been expected of Aura. Her family and the entire nation will be closely watching her performance during the tournament. It's not just enough to win, she needs to stand out. Next is Helix, a dragonborn cleric suffering from extreme amnesia. Although he doesn't remember why he came to this land, there is a mighty and constant anxiety building up inside of him, almost like he's running out of time. He needs answers, and soon, the higher he climbs in the guild, the more information he'll have access to. Then we've got Amari. Living a sheltered existence in their monastery up until now, they never figured the outside world could be so cruel and violent. Just as they latched onto the monk who raised them, now Amari's only solace in the world is their team. They will keep their party safe during the tournament or die trying. And finally, we have the wizard Krotor. We will get to him later. In the lead up to the tuning exams, Team 7 is repeatedly caught off guard by a range of quirky and unique characters they encounter from the other teams. Sure, they knew other ninja teams and other villages were out there, but this is their first real exposure. And similarly, my party was kept ignorant as to how other adventurers operated. Not only did this allow for a lot of memorable encounters, like meeting a team composed of all flyers, or a group of notorious murder hobo adventurers, but it also allowed them to hear the answers other adventurers had come up with to answer that big question: what does being an adventurer really mean? Stage 1 of the tuning exams is a written test, with the big twist being that it's far too difficult to pass legitimately. Instead, each of these ninjas in training need to put their skills to the test in order to cheat without getting caught. Something I love about the tuning exams is that its 3 stages actually mirror the 3 pillars of D&D in many ways. Stage 1 is the perfect mixture of puzzles and a social encounter. Stage 2 is exploration, and Stage 3 is pure combat. As you might imagine, throwing a test at my players would be a little rough. Sure, we all love an anime where the main character goes full Sherlock, but that's hard to adapt into D&D, right? Here's what I did. Stage 1 took place in the Adventurer's Mausoleum. Their goal was to start at the top and reach an unknown floor where the guild secretary would be waiting to escort them out. There was a talking elevator present in the mausoleum, but it refused to tell them where the guild secretary was, what floor they were on, and would even go out of its way to take them to dangerous floors or try to crush them. They quickly deduced the elevator was broken due to a faulty rune and needed to find the correct sequence of 4 runes to fix it. Some took to speaking to the elevator and trying to trick it into telling them how to fix it. Others made intelligence checks to figure out the correct sequence through process of elimination. Eventually, the elevator grew so dangerous that they began searching for clues elsewhere in the mausoleum. I took a simple puzzle where the players needed to find a 4-digit code and spread it across an entire dungeon. The purpose of a puzzle is to make your players feel like geniuses, and every time they nailed down one of those runes, it built more and more anticipation and excitement. Instead of a one-and-done skill check, they actually went on an investigation through the dungeon, and if you want to get really spicy, here's how you can lay some more story hints throughout. They encountered numerous undead, but were able to deduce that there weren't any necromantic runes active through the dungeon. In other words, the undead adventurers attacking them were not intentional obstacles set by the tournament committee. There was something weird going on. Prior to taking the test in Naruto, they run into some ninjas from a very mysterious village called the Village Hidden in the Sound. Some shady figures Team 7 will re-encounter later on. Similarly, several members of the party heard a voice calling out to them from the bottom floor of the mausoleum, and upon fixing the elevator, Amari decided to follow it before heading to the finish line. Remember that for later. The second phase of the tuning exams is my absolute favorite, the Forest of Death. Anything goes, all teams are locked inside of Battle Royale with the goal being to capture an enemy team's scroll. My adventurer's island was nearly identical. Team Battle Royale, anything goes, needing to steal an enemy scroll, but I also added the condition that the team must rack up a minimum of 10 points in order to pass. These points are earned by defeating other adventurers in battle or clearing different zones on the map. 5 points for capturing a zone, 3 points for downing a team captain, as well as if your team captain goes down, then you'll actually lose 3 points. So why did I do it like this? Well, while the Forest of Death is perfect for anime where a narrative can be pre-written, simply put, the point system ensures the players don't just blitz through the competition. Otherwise, they could locate a weak team, steal their scroll, and clear the entire stage in half a session. But beyond covering myself, it does serve a secondary purpose by adding an additional layer of strategy. Do they spend a ton of time trying to fully clear 2 zones? Well, it's probably safer than fighting teams, but it also means they're spending all their time battling monsters on the island and could potentially run out of time to snatch someone's scroll. Maybe they go the full team versus team strat, but if so, who are they electing team captain? Should it be their strongest member who leads the charge? Or maybe a weak member whose job it is to hide in order to avoid getting their points stolen? Mix in man-eating monsters, ancient ruin puzzles, legendary items, and of course a variety of different encounters players can have with other adventuring teams on the island, and you can probably see just how many different approaches your players can take with this. Plus, they had the fun roleplay moment of debating who should be captain. It was Or, by the way. Naruto's Team 7 is unfortunate enough to come across Orochimaru right off the bat, essentially a high-level ninja terrorist. He's way more than our main characters can handle at this point in the series, but instead of killing them, he shows a great interest in the abilities and potential of Sasuke in particular. Biting him on the neck, he bestows him with a curse mark, a dark well of power Sasuke can draw upon in exchange for giving more and more of his own will over to Orochimaru. Eventually, the Sound Village ninja from before arrive on the orders of Orochimaru to test Sasuke by trying to kill him and the rest of his injured team. And just like in Naruto, the team found themselves surrounded by adversaries, where out of nowhere, Amari the monk began channeling some sort of dark energy around them. They were stronger, faster, and their fists carried a mysterious necrotic energy. To explain this, we have to go back to the end of the first phase, the Adventurer's Mausoleum. You see, it all has to do with that fourth party member I've kept a secret until now. You see, they died. Crushed by a sentient elevator, his death marked a serious turning point for the entire party. Amari, most of all. That mysterious voice they followed revealed itself to be a powerful lich and former adventurer named Vecna. He offered Amari power over life and death in exchange for their service. Heartbroken and desperate to keep their new home together, they agreed. Just like Sasuke, Amari quickly dispatched of their foes, brutally becoming the first party member to take a human life. As you might imagine, from here on out, the party's dynamic took a whole new turn. In the quest to find what being an adventurer meant to them, a whole new unpopular wild card entered the chat. Amari represented that perhaps there was no happy ending, perhaps the entire guild needed to be thrown out, that life was nothing but suffering, but maybe there was meaning to be found in undeath. Now, an absolute ton happened during this section of the game, and unless we want to be here for hours, I can't cover everything. But important takeaways are that new allies were made, new threats foreshadowed, and although the party made it to the third phase, tensions couldn't have been higher among them. I think it's also important to emphasize that at this point, I as the DM was able to observe just how much fun every player was having role-playing these party tensions. If that wasn't the case, I could have pivoted. And honestly, my game had way more discussion over Amari's curse mark than Naruto or Sakura ever had over Sasuke's. That is to say, emphasize those story elements your players latch onto and de-emphasize those that aren't really a hit. Remember, you're a pirate, and only treasure is worth stealing. And with stage 2 complete, we move on to the final phase, bracket elimination. Now, unlike the single elimination tournament in Naruto, I made the fights team battles for a few reasons. First off, PvP is so divisive, and even if someone says they like it, that might just be code for they like it when it goes a certain way, and I just wouldn't suggest making it the climax of your story unless you are really confident. Second, D&D combat is kinda slow, so I wanted to avoid a situation where people are sitting on their phones waiting for their turn to fight. But my third and final reason is that the team dynamic is essential to being an adventurer in a way that squads really aren't essential to being a ninja. Consider all the different teams the party had met, how much the previous phases tested their teamwork, and the current tension within the team. It just didn't make any sense to suddenly have them compete as individuals. One underappreciated aspect of the tuning exams is just how much characterization comes from the commentary. It's basically a meme to have side characters comment during anime fights, but I've always felt like Naruto did this really well. Neji versus Hinata wouldn't mean nearly as much if Naruto wasn't yelling from the bleachers the whole time. Lee dropping his weights is only so epic because of how everyone reacts to it, and Sakura cheering on Naruto during his fight with Kiba is honestly pretty touching considering all they've been through. So for this reason, I gave my party plenty of time to explore the tourney grounds, scout out opponents, and discuss everything amongst themselves. There was an entire session of this, and it became one of the tensest and most beloved sessions throughout the entire campaign. And for the Naruto fans who remember it, I even took the filler episode where Konohamaru interviews the cast. Before their first tournament fight, my party was ambushed by dozens of bards and scribes harassing the party to get any juicy details they could. But this wasn't just for a cheap laugh. It actually created some super unique roleplay moments where a party member might turn heel like they're giving a WrestleMania promo, or straight up lie in order to make themselves look more impressive to the folks back home. It's also a good example of how to throw in some much appreciated comic relief when you know things are about to get dark. Unbeknownst to the rest of the party, Amari had a dream that night before the match. Appearing to them, Vecna instructs Amari to be prepared for the day of reckoning is finally upon them. This was probably the best cliffhanger reaction I've ever gotten from any party. To this day, almost 4 years later, they still reference ominous events as the Day of Reckoning. And if you're familiar with Naruto, you already know where I'm heading with this. The irony is that although the Chunin exams are often referred to as Naruto's peak, we never actually get to see the full competition. Cause during the finals, the entire arena is suddenly attacked by the villain we've been building up to this whole time, Orochimaru. And just about identically, midway through the party's match, the sky goes dark as necrotic energy floods the very air. Portals to the Shadowfell open up all over the continents, with a massive one right over the arena. As thousands of undead pour out, Vecna's voice can be heard amplified across the entire nation.
I, Vecna, have returned, and the reckoning is upon me.
Hopefully, this video was enough to convince you just how much compatibility there really is between role-playing games and anime. Hey, if you're gonna be a nerd, you might as well be a well-rounded one. Thank you for watching. God bless, and have a wonderful night.